9:00 a.m. and I would like to call to order on CU's Transportation Committee of November 20th, 2025. Before we begin, please note this meeting is recorded.
Can we first right here?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you.
First as I am. Welcome to my colleagues and everyone joining us here in person, as well as those listening in on phone. If you would like to provide public comment at today's meeting, and if you have not done so already, please let Thomas in the back of the room or Christine on the call line know what items we would like to have speak on today. Madam Secretary, please begin by calling the roll.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to start with Director Hernandez.
Here.
Molly Peters.
Here.
Parrish is absent. Rabbit is absent. Verdoni.
Here.
Deere is absent. Vice Chair Maston.
Here.
Chair Hill.
Yes.
And President Cochran.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum. Also in the room, we have Directors Garbarino and Giudice. And as she mentioned, he'd like to invite everyone to just participate with this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Please follow along by referring to the page numbers located in the bottom right-hand corner of the meeting packet. Madam Secretary, please introduce the first item.
Thank you. The first item is the report of the district's advisory committees. It's item number 3, and it's an informational report regarding the district's advisory committees: the Advisory Committee on Accessibility, Bus Passenger Advisory Committee, Ferry Passenger Advisory Committee, and the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee. And staff is available to answer any questions that directors may have on these reports.
Are there any questions?
We can continue to item number 30.
Okay.
We do not have anyone wishing to speak on this item from the public, by the way. So we'll move on to item 34.
Okay, thank you. No action is required for item 3. Madam Secretary, please move on to agenda item 4.
All right. Thank you. Agenda item 4 is a continuation and further discussion to an item that came forward last month about the proposed changes to Golden Gate Transit bus routes and paratransit service as identified in the Marin Sonoma Coordinated Transit Service Mascots Plan. And that report begins on page 39. And Ron, do you want to take us through the changes?
Definitely. Good morning, Chair Hill, members of the committee. There was considerable discussion last month at the Transportation Committee about the proposed changes to Golden Gate Transit Regional Service and continuing paratransit coverage for Sonoma County. The committee did not act last month, so we are bringing it back with some additional information to respond to the questions that were raised. So the item that's before you today is to consider approving the proposed changes to Golden Gate Transit Regional Bus Service, which includes changes to regional basic routes 101, 130, and 150, as well as Route 580 service across the Richmond Bridge, and adjustments to commute services on routes 132 and 164, 172X in Sonoma County. The report is attached to today's item, and I'm happy to go into any questions if you have done the material that we covered last month. The primary reason of concern last month was the late night service on the last 2 trips that would not operate north of Novato. Those 2 trips carry approximately 6 riders combined across the 2 trips, going all the way from San Francisco to Sonoma. Staff considered a number of alternative service delivery methods in response to the questions among board members at the staff level and at the general manager level among the mascots agencies working cooperatively together to try to find a solution. And ultimately, the solution that's contained in today's staff report is to have Sonoma County Transit cover 1 trip approximately an hour and a half after the last train bus connection would depart San Rafael. That would the bus would continue to operate as far north as Novato, so there's no need for anything to come any further south than that to meet people going to Sonoma. So the bus would meet the last 101 trip in Novato. It would be paid for with SDA funds. Thank you. Sorry if any of you didn't hear any of my earlier comments. Happy to repeat if there's any questions. So that would provide one last option for the people on the two affected last trips going to Sonoma. As part of the conversation with the general managers, we would find out more about the people who are affected on that last trip. They would be queried as to their travel patterns, how frequently they use the service, why they're using the service, what their vocation is. So far we've reviewed videos from the trips, and it seems that there are a lot of casual riders. And so one of the questions that they will be asked is, could you use that last bus rail connection in San Rafael at approximately 10:15 as opposed to traveling an hour or so later? That's the item that's before you today, is to consider approving the proposed changes to our Golden Gate Transit bus service and our paratransit service, which will be again funded by Sonoma County STA funds, and will continue essentially the same as what passengers experience today.
If I may, Mr. President, for members of the public who may be listening in for the first time, I just would like to provide a little background. So Mascots is a multi-county effort by all the transit operators and transportation planning agencies affecting Marin and Sonoma counties. And it examined all transit service connecting Marin and Sonoma as if all the local bus, regional bus, ferry, and train service were operated by one entity. And so it was focused on operating public transit efficiently and identify the potential for ridership growth to meet emergent post-pandemic travel patterns. So that was the genesis and the goal of the Mascots effort. And for those listening in as background, the Bridge District is primarily self-funded, and we use bridge tolls to maintain, operate, and secure the Golden Gate Bridge. By your mission statement, to the extent you have surplus tolls available, then you operate bus and ferry service that removes cars from the Golden Gate Bridge. Tolls are our largest source of revenue, and so the transit service that we subsidize is focused on getting cars off the Golden Gate Bridge. And each of the 4 counties where we operate bus service today has a local voter-approved sales tax for transportation. In each of those 4 counties, the Bridge District receives $0 for its bus and ferry service. So those counties use their money for other bus service. And in the case of Marin and Sonoma, they also have a special district tax for SMART. It's also important to note that recently Sonoma County has reduced the amount of state operating assistance they provide to the Bridge District by $5.2 million. And so I just want to provide that context and background. And I want to say that staff vehemently and strongly and ardently supports this proposal. We think it's good government to have all transit agencies come together and set aside whose customers is whose and say what's best for the traveling public as well as what's best for the public that pays for all this service. And for those that are from Marin County, please note that this will greatly increase the amount of transit service for Marin County residents if Mascots is implemented as put forth in the recommendation before you here today. And with that background and context, staff is available to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Lauren, are there any questions or comments from directors? Oh, Stephanie.
Yeah, if I might. I wanted to thank staff for the additional recommendations you're bringing forward today. You know, we take this very seriously, the late night service. And I asked our CTAs and staff to come together and look at options to address the riders that may be using this system. There aren't that many of them, but they're important. And the discussion that was held between the general managers and policymakers yielded this recommendation to have a transition service late at night and to do the additional work that Director Brown was talking about to really survey the users and understand what their needs are and how we might best meet them. So we're taking these extra steps. I think they're important, and I'm ready to move this item for approval.
Okay. Thank you. Jim?
Yeah. So does Sonoma County Transit run a bus to Novato at this point?
No, they run to Petaluma. They have a bus that leaves Petaluma about 10-ish and deadheads all the way back to Santa Rosa. So for them to have that run service a little bit later in Petaluma and then drop down just a couple miles to Novato and then take people in passenger service to Santa Rosa is, from a taxpayer perspective, a cost-effective way, at least in the interim, while we address other plans, to provide service connecting people from Novato to Santa Rosa.
Okay, so it'd be the same bus then that would just go on to Novato and then turn around and go.
That's the current plan. They may change the plan with the type of bus because a smaller bus would be more cost-effective. And so they are evaluating that as part of the options, but they are committed, the policymakers have committed to have them run this service as outlined in the staff report for that trip that leaves San Francisco at 10:30, so folks have a late night option to get back to Sonoma County.
Another important consideration in the design of the service is because people will come southbound at other times of the day on the SMART train, this bus would return to some of the key SMART stations in Sonoma County. It would not follow the alignment of the current Route 101.
And then through the chair, I believe that Sonoma County Transportation got the bulk of the $5.2 million haircut that we took.
That's correct. We took a $5.2 million haircut, and they received a lot of funds, and so we think it's appropriate that they run this.
Other comments? Oh, go ahead, Dennis.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the suggestion and the compromise. I just wondered what the evaluation process would be of that 3-month trial period. And then would our board have any say in any future decisions related to that?
So the evaluation process will start before the 3-month period. If the decision is made to implement mascots, then we would start surveying customers now. So we would have staff ride the late night trips to engage one-on-one with people and to gather information. And then that information would come back to the various mascots agencies. But as currently contemplated, the Bridge District would not have a role in deciding solely on the continuation of this service.
Okay, thank you. And then, Ron, I thought last meeting there was some discussion about at least explaining to us what the cost of running a bus to Sonoma might be from Novato and returning it, I guess. There was some discussion about, I think at your level, Dennis, that the board could decide to do this, but we would have.
So we're the most expensive transit operator in the Bay Area. Our cost per service is more than twice as high as, I believe, almost 3 times as high as the average transit operator. And if we ran a bus up to Santa Rosa late at night, we would have to deadhead it back down south. Otherwise, we would end up at the end of the week with, a dozen extra buses up in Santa Rosa. And so the expense for us is quite great. Sonoma County Transit's cost per hour is significantly less than ours. Plus they have a lot of the money that we used to get. And they have a deadhead that needs to go back to Santa Rosa anyway. So there is, I think, a fair amount of logic for them to carry customers while they make that trip.
I'm just assuming then from your discussion, it would be a 2-hour charge.
For us, it would be more because of the deadhead.
Okay. Thank you. And would you remind me of our hourly rate?
600 and something. Other operators are as low as 150. So I did say that publicly. It's important that we tell the public what the cost of our service is. We are by far the most expensive transit operator in the Bay Area. And so we just need to be cognizant of that. Your staff is focused on reducing our fixed costs. Coming out of the pandemic, we operate less service, so fixed costs are distributed over more hours. But we do have some challenges in front of us with respect to our cost structure.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ron, for your report. Appreciate the extra work that you did as a result of the discussion that we had at the last board meeting. I had 2 questions, but thanks to Director Rodoni, one of my questions was answered. The first question, though, is with regard to the temporary nature of these changes. It's just a 3-month sort of cycle to see how things roll. Wanted to ask you, within that 3-month period, if there's not a really good campaign to educate the public on what that option is, we might get some skewed results in terms of people, taking the new option. So I'm wondering if you could comment, and I know we don't have complete control over everything here, there are lots of folks that are involved in this entire project. Could you comment on the level of outreach, the types of outreach that will be made so that we can get an accurate assessment of folks that are actually using that change service?
Yes, of course,
Thank you.
Director Hernandez. So as discussed previously, the mascots effort would come with a very robust public education campaign for all riders across all parts of the service changes, because in some cases, riders will take a different bus, a different transit agency's bus, or a train instead of a bus. And so it's important for the public to understand what their options are. We will include this option in our public education efforts that will begin in early 2026 in anticipation of the April changes to implement this plan. So we hope to get everybody who would be affected by these potential changes early and through the process and listen to feedback. In particular, as Dennis said, we will be reaching out to riders on these last two trips to really get a sense of what their travel needs may be, how frequently they travel, and if the earlier train bus connection in San Rafael is also a viable option for somebody to maybe leave San Francisco an hour earlier than they do right now under current conditions. So we'll be drilling down, collecting feedback, and figuring out how to deliver this whole package to the public when it starts in April in the most comprehensive and easily understood manner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Barb.
Thank you. I apologize for the traffic that evidently doesn't find its way across the bridge, but finds its way from Napa to San Rafael. So anyway, congratulations to San Rafael for doing whatever they do to make them all turn off there. Anyway, as I read the mascots report, it's comprehensive. Sorry, I missed the discussion so far. But I think what I want to say is thank you so much to the leaders of the various organizations. It's a very complex problem. As I recall, we sort of pounded our fists and sent you back to the table. And I appreciate the fact that you took that seriously and came up with a plan that we can at least look at in reality and make sure that we get the pieces right ultimately. So thank you, Stephanie. Who else was on that? I know that Director Rabbit was on it.
Yeah, representing Sonoma County, and also we had MTC Commissioner Santa Rosa Councilmember Fleming who participated with the GMs in trying to corral a solution.
I was going to say it's a major task to get that group together and come up with something that we can all support. So thank you. And thank you, Ron, for being part of that.
Jim, go ahead.
So if we're going to make passengers get off at 10:30 or whatever it is in San Rafael at night and change buses, what's security like there if the buses aren't there at the same time?
So I'll speak to that. Because there's two issues. One is people that are taking the late night trip will get off in Novato at Redwood and Grand. But for folks that are doing a little earlier, they'll get off in San Rafael to transfer to the train. The train, you have to walk across one street. We do have a contract with a security guard firm that we have a presence in San Rafael. We do that so customers feel safe. The San Rafael Transit Center, we also have cameras in place that have a direct feed to the San Rafael Police Department to keep the site safe. And then at Novato, Redwood, and Grant, it's a modern, relatively new, I dare say, beautiful, kudos to Marin Transit center that has more than adequate lighting, and it's in a neighborhood that does not have safety or security concerns. Okay. And so for that last trip to transfer to Sonoma County Transit, they would be doing that at the Novato, Redwood, and Grand bus transfer facility.
Okay, but we won't have our security folk there.
We do not have security presence there. It has not been needed. So we spend money on security where we think it's needed. So we have security that checks our San Francisco midday bus storage under the freeway. We have security at our San Rafael bus yard, and we have security at the San Rafael Transit Center. We have security on the Giants Ballpark ferry boats, especially when they're coming home after a few beverages. So we put those resources where necessary, but we don't just have security every place to have security everywhere.
Do we have security at the Novato yard?
No, we do not. We have not had any issues or problems.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Maston, the Sonoma County Transit bus would be waiting at the Redwood and Grant stop in Novato for that northbound Route 101, so passengers wouldn't be left there.
Thank you, Jim. Good question. Are there any other questions? Or that concludes the discussion on item number 4. Before we take our vote, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? I'm sure there is.
We do. We have Shane Weinstein. Shane, can you join us at the end of the table there?
Hi, Shane.
Good morning, directors. Shane Weinstein, president of ATU Local 1575. And I know I'm here fighting a losing battle, but fight I will. Our union and our local support innovation that strengthens Golden Gate Transit and grows ridership. But we cannot support removing long-standing late-night regional service without a real, stable, and clearly defined plan in place. The district's report confirms 3 major changes. Late-night service north of Novato will be handed over to Sonoma County Transit. That replacement will only last 3 months. And our 2 long-standing Golden Gate Transit trips, the 10:30 p.m. and the 11:30 p.m. out of San Francisco, will be replaced by 1 trip. And there's a serious logistical flaw. The current 10:30 p.m. Golden Gate Transit bus arrives in Novato at 11:44. Sonoma County Transit's replacement bus is to leave at 11:45, just 1 minute later. A 1-minute transfer at midnight is not a connection. This is a guaranteed missed trip. And anyone who currently relies on the 11:30 p.m. trip from San Francisco simply cannot get home. They are completely cut off. We are eliminating access first, then polling riders later to ask whether they miss it. That is planning after the fact. But before we eliminate regional access, we still do not know where the riders were bored, where they will be dropped off, which towns they will actually serve, or how safe a transfer will work late at night. These are not minor details. These are the service. And there is a structural issue that the public needs to understand. Mascots is already a pilot program. This proposal creates another pilot program inside of another pilot program, run by another agency that has never provided late-night inter-county service with connections from San Francisco. That means data for the Mascots pilot would be measured using another agency's 3-month pilot. A pilot cannot be measured by another pilot. There is no baseline. There is no accountability. When late-night ridership numbers are referenced, we must remember who these riders are. They are essential workers in hospitals, hotels, restaurants, custodial work, and caregiving. They are students. They are low-income workers who must use transit to get home. They do not have a choice. They depend on it. That is the entire purpose of public transportation. Elected leaders throughout Sonoma County have asked you to preserve this access. Labor leaders have asked you to preserve this access. Riders have asked you to preserve this access. Nobody is asking for one experimental trip with a 1-minute transfer and to survey people after they've been stranded. If the district intends to modify late-night service, riders should be guaranteed access beyond Novato, more than 1 trip, safe transfer times, clear stop locations before implementation, and accountability to this board, not a 3-month poll. A 1-minute connection is not a plan. A pilot cannot be built on another pilot, and access to get home at night cannot be reduced to 1 shot. I respectfully urge the committee not to eliminate or outsource late-night regional access until a stable, publicly accountable plan is defined first, not after service is taken away. Thank you for your time and service to this community.
Thank you, Shane. You have a comment?
No different than what we do between Smart Train and the Golden Gate Ferry. We don't leave people behind. So if a bus is running late, it will be held similar to how we hold, the train. And so there's longstanding practices. If we were leaving people behind, you would have people writing letters to you, sending you emails and calling you. The intent of this nor the execution of this will be to allow people to miss a connection. As Ron said, the Sonoma County Transit bus will be there waiting for the arrival of the Golden Gate Transit bus.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is, I think, wraps up our in-person public comments. We do have someone online that's going to speak, so I'm going to turn it over to Justine if there's no other folks in the room that might want to speak to this committee on this item. Seeing none, Okay, Justine, I'm turning it over to you to introduce your speaker on your public line.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Our first speaker this morning is Mitso Floor. Mitso, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Great. Good morning to the committee, and thank you all for your thoughtful discussion and willingness to find a solution for the issue of late-night bus service in Sonoma County. My name is Mitso Floor, and I'm a rider of the last southbound 101 of the night. I know this issue has been discussed at length, but I'd like to add some observations that I haven't heard noted thus far. First of all, the discussion has been centered around the northbound direction, but the southbound situation is even worse given that the final SMART trip is earlier. If my estimation is correct, it will leave Santa Rosa around 8 p.m. in the proposed schedule. Not only does this leave a much larger gap in service compared to the northbound direction, but in my experience, I've observed consistently more riders than the 6 seen riding the last few northbound buses in the quoted survey. During my most recent week of riding the 101, which I take home to San Francisco from my job at Santa Rosa Symphony during concert weeks, I counted upwards of 10 people each night on the bus, and that's all people who got on the bus north of Novato. Additionally, on 2 nights, the bike rack was full and I had to bring my bike on board the bus. This raises another point, which is that the bus is truly the only option for those who bring their bikes on board. Not even Uber can be used as an alternative. On those nights, 4 people, including myself, would have had no way home. Given the boom in bike usage on SMART, this is an important factor to consider. Now I'd like to make a comparison to another bus in the area, which is Muni's Route 25 to Treasure Island. This bus is in the bottom 25% of ridership, and yet it runs 24/7 with 30-minute headways all night long. Compared to the other regular routes that also run OWL service, its ridership is 5 times lower than the next lowest route. I don't have data for ridership by time of day, but I can't imagine that the 3 a.m. buses are carrying more than a few people. So why do they keep it running? Because it's the only option for people living on Treasure Island. You can't get there without a car. Without this bus, they would be stranded, so Muni provides this service for the few who rely on it as their only way home. So I urge you now to please use that same reasoning for the late night 101. People need this bus. Public transit is about providing a public good, not just the raw numbers. Having coverage that spans the entire region and the entire day should be the top priority. As much as I would hate to see service cut at other times of day, if it means reducing peak frequencies from 15 minutes to 20 or 30 in order to keep the last few buses to and from Santa Rosa, I say it's absolutely worth it for the full coverage it provides the system. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. I would like to ask if you would mind if I poll the room. We did have some callers who joined after we started the meeting. Okay, I'll go ahead and poll. Is there anyone that's joined us this morning that would like to speak on this item on transportation? Please press ** to unmute yourself and give me your name. Again, if you'd like to speak on this item, please press ** to unmute yourself and give me your name. It seems we have no other callers this morning. Thank you.
Oh, Stephanie?
Yes, thank you. I had a follow-up question for our staff or general manager, and that is really aimed at the larger mascots effort in general, which, as you've said, Dennis, is a coordination among all the transit providers. It is a pilot project, but the kind of coordination that's contemplated is what we're talking about also for this late night service, that local bus will work with us and with SMART. But I wonder, Dennis, if you might comment just about the evaluation that will happen ongoing and the work you will have with your colleagues to true up issues that may occur.
All the agencies adjust schedules several times a year. We've been adding service incrementally back with the passage of time. Our last bus sign up, we added a Route 114 trip coming out of Mill Valley because we saw a small growth in ridership. And so the agencies collectively have some major milestones to have an outside entity assist us in an evaluation. But we meet monthly. I'm meeting with the GMs again tomorrow up at SMART's offices in Petaluma after our meetings here. And we will be reviewing this on an ongoing basis as it rolls out to see where we need to do little tweaks. But there is a desire by the region, by MTC, to have a consultant come in and do kind of a broader look at it after 2 years while we're doing little tweaks as we go along to say, is this something that makes sense? And is it something that could perhaps serve as a model for other parts of the region? We have a lot of transit operators in the region, and I think the region is excited to see the North Bay all come together and say, if one company ran everything, what would it look like, with the goal of being efficient and growing ridership? And so there will be evaluations done. We provide data every month to you on bridge, bus, and ferry ridership. And I talk about how travel in the quarter is still slowly coming back. We have a long ways to go, but this will be evaluated on an ongoing basis. And the general managers meet separately once a month. The planning staff meets separately once a month. We're all talking to each other, and we're all coordinating, and we're all, invested in doing what's great. And the North Bay's had a history of doing that for, decades. We have a free transfer from a Golden Gate bus to a local bus. Now, everyone's talking about Clipper 2.0 is going to have free transfers across the region. That's not new. For the last 20 years, if you got off a Golden Gate bus and got on a Santa Rosa City bus or a Petaluma bus or a Sonoma County transfer for a local ride, not all the way to the west coast of the county, you would get a free transfer. And coming the other way, it works the same way, where you pay a local fare on a bus and you get on Golden Gate, or now Smart also, that your regional fare is discounted by the amount you already paid. And so we have a history of coordination. This certainly builds upon it in a fashion that recognizes that the world has changed with the advent of Smart coming to Larkspur and with the advent of the pandemic. So we will continually evaluate this, and we'll report back to you because we know there's a heightened interest in this topic.
Thank you. I'd like to comment that I'm a user of public transportation, and I appreciate this discussion that we're making and taking the time to work on this so very well. Thank you, Shane. May I have a motion on agenda item number 4? Or did I miss some?
So I made that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do roll call.
Thank you. We did become a committee of the whole once Director Snyder arrived, so I am going to start from the top to bottom. All right, starting with Director Devlin, who's absent. Garbarino? Giudice?
Yes.
Hardeman is absent. Hernandez?
I realize that that favor is going to go in a different direction today, but I'm going to cast my vote as no, given some the impact of some of the public comments and the general discomfort around remaining questions with regard to the evaluation. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, I have that as no. Maston? Moulton Peters? Yes. Parr?
Aye.
Parrish is absent. Rodoni?
Aye.
Snyder? Fear is absent. Second Vice President Rabbit is absent. First Vice President Hill?
Yes.
And President Cochran?
Yes.
Yes. So the motion fails. We only have 8 yeses and 2 nos.
It's not a board meeting.
Oh, right, but we are a committee. I mean, it's the committee will pass it through the committee.
It passed the committee. It was 8 votes, majority vote.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll need 10 votes to pass. So today it passed the committee because the committee takes a majority. Tomorrow it goes to the full board. For the full board, it takes 10 votes for something to pass by your rules. So you had 8 to 2 today. If it doesn't have 10 tomorrow, the motion fails. And if it were to fail tomorrow by the rules of the board, you will not revisit this for quite some time.
6 months.
So I suspect that might be of interest to the press if it were to fail tomorrow.
So it'll pass through to the board and for discussion.
No more comment. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Please continue on to number 5.
Report on bridge traffic, transit ridership trends, transit service performance. And staff is here. Dennis is here to answer any questions that you might have. Ron is also here, too, if you have any questions.
I don't see any. That concludes discussion on this item. Madam Secretary, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Item 5.
There are no speakers for item number 5.
Okay. Thank you. No action is required for this informational report. We will move on to item 6 for a monthly report on activities related to Marin Transit. Dennis, do you have anything to report related to this item?
All is good. Marin Transit really recently reached out with respect to possible extension of the current contract. So we will start conversations with them. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions.
Seeing none. Directors, I don't see any. That concludes discussion on this item, and there is no action required for item 6. Madam Secretary, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on item 6 or address this committee under item 7, which is public comment?
We have no additional speakers for this item 6, or for this committee.
Thank you. We have reached the end of this agenda. May I have a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Hearing no objections, this concludes the meeting of the Transportation Committee. Thank you, colleagues. The time is 9:36 a.m.